Okay, looks like we're live and it's 7 o'clock. So I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'm going to take attendance. Councillor Cross.
Present.
And Councillor Shipham.
Present.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is A1. It's amendment to the agenda. I would like to modify the agenda tonight by adding a closed portion in order to receive additional training from E4M and to have a further confidential discussion regarding Castleholme. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Croft, can you move that, please?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipham, can you second that, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the resolution moved by Councillor Croft, second by Councillor Shipham, that Council hereby authorize the following amendments to the November 23rd, 2021 agenda. A1, Municipality of Calvin, amendment to the agenda. 11, that this portion of the meeting now be closed under the Municipal Act 2001 as per section 239(2)(e), litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting a municipality or local boards, in section 239K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on or carried on by or behalf of the municipality or local board. Read Castleholme Redevelopment Project as per section 239 3.1, educational training session for council given by expertise for municipalities, E4M. Any discussion on this, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote on this, please. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to accept the closed portion addition?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham, do you vote yes or no to accept the closed portion addition?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried and the agenda is modified. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is written disclosure of pecuniary conflict of interest. Councillor Cross, do you have any?
No, I don't.
Councillor Shipham?
No.
Nor do I. Next item on the agenda is item number 3, petitions and delegations. And we have one tonight from Expertise for Municipalities, E4M, on our go forward strategy. So I'm not quite sure who's going to present it. Would that be you, Ms. Albers, or Ms. DeGagne?
That will be me and my cohort in crime, Chelsea DeGagne. Did I pronounce that right, Chelsea? Chelsea was the CAO in Chapleau, and now she's up in Thunder Bay working with E4M and doing some stuff. She's got herself a day job and a beautiful little boy, and she's been working with municipalities probably most of her adult life. So she's a great gal. So I'd like to introduce
Nice to meet
Chelsea.
everyone.
Nice to meet you.
So Tammy, I'll pull it up on my screen and that's
Yeah,
probably the best way.
I'm going to actually, I've decided we need to, I'm going to do a statement first that I've been thinking about doing, and I think it's probably appropriate if we're doing educating. So I'm just going to read a quick statement if that's okay with everyone. Is that okay with everyone?
It is for me, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we at E4M feel that further clarification is needed on what my role is when I attend council meetings or work with staff. My role is always as the wellness advocate. In no way is my role related to the integrity commissioners at any time. The integrity commissioner, called IC, is legally mandated by the provincial government through the Municipal Act. Every municipality in Ontario is required to have an integrity commissioner. The IC is a statutory officer bound by the role established in the Municipal Act. At E4M, we believe that those individuals who act on behalf of the corporation in our capacity as Integrity Commissioner must adhere to the applicable policies and procedures of the municipality as required. The role for the IC is to provide advice and guidance for members of council about their obligations under the Code of Conduct and the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, training and education for council, public education, and investigating allegations that a member of council breached the Code of Conduct and the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Requests for inquiry can come from members of the public and members of council. I do not act in the role of an Integrity Commissioner. My role, as I said, is a wellness advocate. E4M may ask me to assist with a variety of services they provide to municipalities. When I am invited as the wellness advocate by E4M or by a municipality itself to provide my services, it is predominantly to ensure staff and council are being treated fairly and with respect. These services are often called upon when people are in crisis and they may be feeling overwhelmed, harassed, or underappreciated. However, the Code of Conduct and the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act apply to members of council and local boards only, not to consultants. I am professionally and ethically mandated to step in when I see people being treated with disrespect. Past life and work experiences, plus my nature to care very deeply, and education has given me an ability to and a need to help where help is needed. In addition to Integrity Commissioner services, E4M also provides a variety of other services, such as rent a clerk or a treasurer or a CAO to cover leaves or resignations, overall or departmental organizational structure reviews, wage comparisons, and operational business planning. We work with municipalities to provide go-forward strategies, council term plans, and strategic plans, and where I usually come in is to assist council and or staff in crisis. Thanks very much. So, all right, Chelsea, if you want to pull up the PowerPoint, we'll work together on that, my dear.
Okay.
You want to see that on the screen?
Yeah, can I share my screen?
I have to give you host abilities. Just hold on a moment. So I've given you the host abilities. You'll have to give it back when you're done. So
Okay.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and you should be able to share yours.
Okay, perfect. There we go, Tammy.
All right. Good evening, and we have come to a place where we hope to move Kelvin forward. A part of this presentation encompasses the time we have spent with the municipality when you had full seats before two councillors resigned. So some of the things we are saying may apply to how things were before and may apply again to how things might be when those two seats are filled. Go ahead, Chelsea. So if you could click on this, Chelsea, and we're going to have you all watch this short little video, and it's really fun. Is the volume on it? On it?
No.
Oh.
I'm not hearing it.
Can you hear it?
No.
No.
That's too bad.
Let me try one thing here.
Okay.
Give me a second.
We may be able to just go to YouTube and play it, but I wondered if that might happen. I'm sorry.
So Tammy, what I could send everyone the link if you think that that would be any better.
That might work better. Because it is a good thing to watch. But also we could just go through the second step and they could watch this privately on their own time. It's totally up to you folks. I know you've got a busy and full night. Your thoughts? I can't hear anyone.
I'm fine with you sending us the link.
I'm the same as well.
Okay, I'll get that sent out right after the meeting.
Okay, so what that video was, it's called 13 Ways to Kill Your Community, and it lists the different things such as not engaging community, not talking to the youth, different agendas and whatnot. So we've come up with, actually it's 12 ways to kill Calvin. We can kill Calvin. So based on the responses to the survey, the one-on-one interviews with each member of council and a community engagement exercises completed by some of council, it's become apparent that if council continues to govern the way they have been since elected in 2018, the legacy of this council will be unremarkable at best and at worst significantly costly to taxpayers. Let's change this. It's time. The first step is understand what needs to be changed or done differently. Following Doug Griffith's idea, we have come up with 12, not 13, things that if council continues doing them could or will kill Calvin. Next slide. So by continuing to purposely undermine council, individual councillors have opinions. They should express them during the debate time only. Once a decision is made and a vote is taken, support it. Don't disrespect council's decision to staff and/or members of the public. And most importantly, do not make negative statements in the press or social media about individual members of council or council's decisions. By micromanaging and not leading. Council is a governing body, not a group of individuals who each tell staff what they must do. Council needs to set levels of service and adopt policy to execute the services. The CAO, or the most senior manager, manages who does what and when. Things fall apart when council or a member of council tries to take on the role of administrator. Next. So by always paying too much attention to and deciding in favor of the fist bangers, and we all know who they are. They're the ones who are the loudest and the most demanding in the community, and they almost bully us into just resigning and making the decision in their favor just to make them go away. And not what, you know, if you pay attention to them, we're not paying attention to what's in the best interest of the municipality as a whole. We need to have a backbone. We need to decide and to stick to it. Don't cater to the vocal few, because the fist bangers really are the vocal few. Make decisions that help the municipality move forward and are in keeping with council's goals and vision, not ones that keep the municipality mired in turbulence. Number 4, by promoting personal interests. Councillors should not promote or interfere with a decision that benefits them personally and or their parent, spouse, or child, plus any other person identified in the code of conduct. Number 5, by viewing municipal employees as the enemy, and we see this a lot in many municipalities. Council needs to recognize that the role of staff is to provide an expert and often biased opinion, not tell council what they want to hear or to run council. Council can choose to ignore the opinion of staff. Don't criticize them for their opinion. 6, by continuing to enable disrespect among council members, between council and employees, and between members of council and the public generally. Next. 7, by always listening to the naysayers or strongly opinionated individuals on social media. There are many other voices that members of council need to hear. The mayor and councilors have a representative role. This means that they represent all of the people residing in the municipality and should seek opinions of those they do not know or who may have a different opinion from their own. They need to look at every decision from all sides, step outside of the comfort zone and talk to residents, especially if they're not part of your circle of family, friends, and acquaintances. By number 8, by not planning or by adopting a community strategic plan and then ignoring it. The adage says that if you fail to plan, you've planned to fail. For those who adopt but don't follow their plan, it is the same as failing to plan. If you wish to accomplish nothing, be accountable and transparent. Advise the residents that you will make decisions but will not move the municipality forward during the remainder of your council term. Next. By believing that your professional expertise is why you were elected to represent the municipality. Councillors, once elected, acclaimed, and appointed, are governors of the corporation. They are not field experts. I think we've told the story where one councillor used to drive the snowplow when no one was looking, or he'd follow the snowplow driver around. It's not a good thing. Councillors need to stick to their role. If you think you can better serve the municipality in a staff role, resign as a member of council and apply for the position. 10, by having a personal agenda. Councillors who have a personal agenda are not effective stewards. You hold your position to represent the people, not your personal agenda. 11, by not being decisive. It's important as a councillor to have self-awareness. I need tea. Thank you. About your personal way of making a decision. And we've all done the DISC assessment. So as mostly I'm an ISC, I make decisions like that, but a lot of people need time to really think about things. Some need way more information and time than others, and making sure that you're prepared for the meetings. It's very clear when I watch council meetings on YouTube or via Zoom, who has read their package and who has not, and who is prepared. Next. Oh, goodness, sorry. Number 12, by believing we've always done it this way and being resistant to change. And number 13, by being fearful of being bold. Councils are often required to make difficult decisions and prolong the upheaval unnecessarily. Be brave, make the decision. You can't please everyone. You should always measure a decision by what is in the best interest of the whole municipality, not by your personal opinion or of those close to you, or of the naysayers or the fist bangers. The most effective councillors have courage to make the unpopular decisions. So that's you, Chelsea?
Yeah, I can take over from here.
Thanks, son.
So going forward, council needs to make a commitment to, as a responsible level of government, treat people with respect and engage with the community. And this matters for a few reasons. Municipalities are, of course, a level of government, and you have to follow the rules as set out in the Municipal Act, as well as other pieces of legislation. Municipalities are required to have a council, as well as several different statutory officers, such as a clerk and a treasurer. Municipalities are governed by council. Council is to act in an ethical manner to make decisions that are in the best interest of the whole of the community, all ratepayers, not just a few, and to ensure that they operate within their role. So council needs to act within their role as defined by the Municipal Act, and you have a role as a representative, also law and policy making and stewardship. So the need to act as a responsible level of government is paramount, as well as treating people with respect and engaging with the community. It's council's role to lead, to determine what services the municipality will provide and to what level, adopt laws, rules, and policies, make decisions as a whole at a council meeting, to hire a chief administrator by whatever title you choose, and not to micromanage the operation. So staff council relations are really important to an effective council and to an effective administration. So over the next year, the remainder of your term, we believe the council can accomplish the following. The council can adopt a true vision for the municipality, adopt a new organizational and relationship structure with a municipal administrator or a CAO as the only employee and all other employees reporting to that position, and to adopt a community engagement strategy. Tammy, you want to take over?
Yeah, well, and next steps is we at EFRAM are willing to work with you on those things, those items that we feel that you can accomplish, particularly in community engagement strategies. And these are things we'll discuss at another time. But if there's, we want to stay with Calvin and provide any kind of support needed. And that's our PowerPoint presentation. And are there any questions? Is that a good sign? I can't hear you, Ian. Are you on
mute?
Oh, sorry.
I said, I think a good sign. I mean, I don't have any questions. I liked your presentation. I thank you for suggestions you made, and I think we do need to engage the members of our municipality. And I look forward to working with you to determine how to do that. So thank you.
We're full of ideas. So we're going to stick around for a bit, but we're going to turn our screens off and our mute our stuff till later, till the closed session. Okay. Ciao.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item number 4, reports from municipal officers, of which we have none this evening. After that, we have number 5, reports from committees, of which we have none this evening. And then we have number 6, action letters. Under action letters A, we have the minutes of the council meeting. We need to adopt the minutes of Tuesday, November 9th, 2021 council meeting. So I'll need a mover and a seconder in order to move ahead with that. Councillor Shipman, can you move this one, please?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. And Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Shipman, seconded by Councillor Cross, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, November 9th, 2021 be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Do we have any discussion on that? Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Councillor Cross?
No, everything looks in order.
Okay. So I'm going to call for a vote to adopt these minutes of the November 9th meeting as signed and circulated. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. So next item on the agenda is to adopt the minutes of the Tuesday, November 16th meeting of council. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for that as well. So Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipman, can you second it, please?
Yes.
So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Cross and seconded by Councillor Shipman, that the minutes of the special meeting of council held on Tuesday, November the 16th, be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Any discussion, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm gonna call this, resolution for a vote. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to accept these minutes?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
I vote to accept them as well. So this resolution is carried. All right, so the next item on the agenda is item C. That's bylaw 2021-033. It's an agreement with the North Bay Industrial Humane Society. We had the first and second readings at a previous meeting, so tonight will be the final reading of that bylaw. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for that as well. Councillor Shipman, can you move the third reading, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, can you second this, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have the third reading, moved by Councillor Shipman and seconded by Councillor Cross. Being a bylaw to renew an agreement between the North Bay and District Humane Society and the Corporation of the Municipality of Calvin for the duration of January the 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. As reported by the Committee of the Whole, to be read a third time, passed the number 2021-033, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and the Clerk, seal of the Corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any discussion on this, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote on the third reading. Councillor Cross, do you vote to accept the third reading?
Yes, I do.
And Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
And I do as well. So this bylaw is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, so next item on the agenda is item D. And it's a call for quotations for wall monitoring for 2022 and 2023 at the landfill site. So we have a resolution tonight in front of us. We discussed this kind of a little bit at our last meeting and decided that we should probably do this. So I'll need a mover for this resolution. Councillor Cross, would you be able to do that?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman, would you be able to second it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Cross, seconded by Councillor Shipman, where the council deems it necessary to call for request for quotations, RFQ, for the 2022-23 well monitoring program at the landfill site. Now be it therefore resolved that the request for quotation for the 2022-23 well monitoring be sent out as prepared to qualified firms with a closing date and time of Tuesday, December the 14th, 2021 at 3 p.m. And that these RFQs will be opened and the total prices will be released at the regular meeting of the same date and subsequently reviewed by the staff for recommendations to council on January 11th, 2022, based on the merit point evaluation system as outlined in the RFQ. Any discussion on this, Councillor Cross?
I'm in support of this resolution. I think it's, with the considerable increase, I think it's best for us to check to see if we're getting the best quote. So just to make sure, even if we end up with the same person, it's good to know what the current market is out there right now. So we need to be getting the best deal. So I'm in support of this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shipman?
No, I agree. We should be looking at all options before we sign with them. Maybe we'll get a better deal with somebody else, maybe not, but we should see.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to call this resolution to a vote. Are you in favor of going out with an RFQ for these services, Councillor Shipham
Yes.
and Councillor Cross?
Yes.
I am as well, so this resolution is also carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is item E. And it's regional municipalities advertising in our newsletter, that subject. And we have a resolution before us this evening. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for that. So Councillor Shipham, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Shipham, seconded by Councillor Cross. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Calvin will hereby allow the regional municipalities and public services group, Mattawa, Matawan, Pathfinder, Cameron, and Bondfield, to advertise events in our monthly newsletter. If all requests are under the following conditions, if all requests are fully prepared and provided to the municipality in an electronic format, are an 8.5 by 11 page in size, a fee of 30 cents per page copying cost. Currently 250 copies will be charged until December 2021. A fee of $10 per page plus 30 cents per page copying cost. Approximately 10 to 15 copies for those who have requested a mail copy will be charged per advertisement once we go electronic in January 2022. And further requests the Clerk Treasurer to add these fees to the fees and charges bylaw. Any discussion? Councillor Shipham.
I was wondering if we could make an amendment to the resolution, because last meeting when we were talking about this, we had mentioned something about having it come in a month prior to it going out in the newsletter so that both sides agreed on the content.
So that both sides?
So that both sides agreed on the content. Like, whoever wants to put the flyer in knows what they want to say, but maybe something in the flyer is not within Calvin's best interest or worded correctly or something. Like, so before we stick something in our newsletter, we'd like to make sure that it's good on both sides.
Okay. So you're still in agreement for them supplying us a finished copy and we're just printing it, right? Like we're not doing any development?
Yeah, no, we're not doing anything with it.
Okay, okay. And you're saying a month?
Yeah, like if you want something to go out for September because you're having a corn boil or something, so in August, you should like submit your flyer. And Cindy is probably the one that's going to be like, yeah, it all looks fine, everything's good, we're good to go, or no, we're gonna have to change this, or if the size doesn't fit or something. And then modifications can be made without it being a rush job.
Okay. Councillor Cross, your thoughts?
I like the idea of advertising other events in the in other people's communities, as long as it hopefully doesn't interfere with any events that are going on here. And I'm sure that it will all work out. Yep, that's.
Okay. I was kind of looking for you to respond to Christine's request for a month in advance, but that's fine. I'm thinking that a month might be a little bit too much. I'm not putting the advertisement out, or I'm not creating the flyer, but it just seems like a long time. I think that maybe really organized groups might be able to meet that timeline, but I'm not sure if everyone could. I'm thinking like 2 weeks, but we're kind of loggerheads here with just the two of us. How long would it take? Please go ahead, Christine.
I was just gonna ask Cindy how long it would take to either modify or do what, because she's the one that's gonna be doing the work.
2 weeks would be, a month isn't necessary. 2 weeks is good, even 7 days.
Okay.
For instance, the flyer goes out on or about the 15th of every month. So at least 7 days, 7 business days, prior to that, you know, we could incorporate, as long as there isn't massive changes that are required. Like if it's some intricate advertisement or something, then yes, more time might be required. But that being said, the person or the municipality would probably have prior knowledge of the event that's taking place, and so would probably provide it to us earlier than 7 days. But if we're not doing the changes or anything like that, it should be okay, 7 days prior.
Okay.
So you said 7 working days, though, right?
Yes,
Or 7 business days?
7 business days, yes.
So you're probably looking at least 10 normal days, right?
Yes. So it depends on how you want to word it, 2 weeks or 10 days.
How about we say 2 weeks?
Days.
Would that be okay? Councillor Shippen?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, Councillor Cross?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
And you're okay with that as well, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay, so can we modify this to include that it shall be provided 2 weeks prior to the mailing date?
That acceptable amendment?
That's fine by me.
Yeah.
Yes, I see Christine nodding her head, and Sandy, yes, okay, so yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask for a vote on this one then.
Mayor Pennell?
Yes.
We need to vote on the amendment, and then we need to vote on the entire motion, okay?
Okay, yeah, right, okay. So first of all, we'll vote on the amendment, right?
Please.
Okay. I'll need, so this one's just for the minute here now. Okay, so how do you vote on the amendment? Councillor Cross, do you vote to accept it or not? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Shippen, do you vote to accept the amendment?
Yes.
And I do as well. Okay, so the amendment's accepted. So now we'll vote on the resolution, on the motion, okay?
Yes.
Okay, so Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no on the resolution?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is item F, and it's a report from Municipal Enforcement Officer. And it's JG 2021-20, a review of bylaw 2007-013. Are you going to speak on this, Jacob, or is it just there for our viewing and comments?
No, I can speak on it some. So as I brought up in the last council meeting, I had some possible changes and I wanted council to review the bylaw to see if it could help with some of our problem areas, if we could strengthen certain parts of the bylaw to make them more enforceable or to make the wording more effective in some of the repeat offenders. So one of the things was our definition of restraint is fairly vague. It pretty much just means the dog needs to be kept on the property, or the dog needs to be on the property's owner. The dog needs to be kept on the the dog owner's property, or if they're out on a leash or obedient to the commands of a competent person. So the wording suggestion that I have here is that the dog is to be kept on the property owner. The dogs, sorry, too many properties and owners. The restraint means a dog is kept on the owner's property, tied or fenced or obedient to the commands of a person. So this would allow someone to still be out playing fetch with their dog and not be in violation, or to be out with their dog if the dog is obedient to them. The way it's currently worded is the owner can let the dog out and go back in the house and hope the dog stays on their property. In most situations that works, and most of the dogs stay on the property owner's property, dog owner's property, and there's no issues with the dog. But by adding the part about the owner keeping an eye on the dog while it's outside, in the event that you get a call about a dog at large, you go there and it's obvious the person was inside, the dog was outside. This would then allow some charging under, or for a dog at large, because now you can prove that the person wasn't in care and control of their animal. Whereas before I would have to see the dog off of the property, the dog owner's property. And then another issue that has been coming up quite a bit more frequently is untagged dogs. And this is something that gets costly to the municipality in trying to find the dog owner, or by taking the dog to the pound. So a suggestion there might be having a set fine that could be canceled within 72 hours if the dog owner does not come and get a tag and present the dog to the municipal enforcement officer with the tag securely affixed to the dog. And
Sorry, what was the last thing you said, Jacob? Somebody affixed to the dog?
so the other thing to consider would be adding a set fine for dogs that don't have a tag securely affixed to them. This would, and if that is something that council does consider, I would also recommend that they allow the tag to be voided after within 72 hours. So basically 3 days, you have 3 days to get a tag on your dog or the fine stands. To give people a grace period that maybe the dog's collar broke and the dog got out. It's more to be able to make people more aware of the tags and there are people that I've talked to and suggested they come get a tag, it's for free, and they just won't come to the office to get a free tag. So if we can get the dogs tagged and return the dogs to their owners, it would save us money in either taking it to the pound and paying the pound fee for the dogs. Another thing I thought about after I prepared the report too was possibly setting a number of dogs that a property owner could have. A maximum number of say 4 or 6 dogs. And then if you exceed the 4 or 6 dogs, you would require a kennel license as set out in the zoning bylaw, which has a bit more regulations on how the dog is to be kept, or the dogs are to be kept. Is there any things that council may have noticed when reviewing the bylaw that you think might help to improve any of the dog at large issues we've had?
Councillor Cross?
No, I do like the idea of the 72 hours. That's really putting the onus back on the owner. I mean, what more can you do? The tags are free. And giving them the 72 hours is showing that you're definitely willing to work with them. I'm not 100% sure. I like the idea of what you said about changing the wording to kept, but I don't know how you'd be able to enforce knowing whether or not the people were actually there watching the dog or not. I wouldn't, that could turn into a bit of an argument maybe with, you know, prove it, you know, prove that I wasn't in my backyard, or that might be a little bit more of a issue. I really don't like the idea of setting the number of dogs. I think people live in a rural area, they have the space, they want to be able to have the dogs that they have. But if it does come to be a problem where they're all running about, then maybe that's when you would do that. I didn't see anything else. I did have a question about, you know, the when a dog is injured, and you have to make that decision of it needing to be euthanized. I believe, I'm hoping that you're calling the police to take care of that. And that was just the only question I had. But no, that was it.
Yeah, when it comes to euthanizing an animal, I believe it was 2 years ago, it was brought forward to council as to how they want to deal with it with the pound, and the recommendation from council at the time was to contact the police and have them make that decision. And that, I would assume, would apply to this bylaw as well.
Anything further, Councillor Cross?
No, nothing further.
Councillor Shipham?
No, I agree with the 72 hours as well. I'm wondering if maybe there should be a set fine for repeat offenders, that whether they have a tag or not, the bylaw officer still has to go out and try to track down the dog and take it back. So, I mean, he's using his time, or the municipality's time, to get a repeat offender. So I'm wondering if maybe we should have fees set for the repeat offenders, whether they have a tag or not.
Are you talking about like the dog at large fines, or just the tag the dog without a tag affixed.
No, like say my dog gets out and every time I turn around, he's running down the road and you're being called to come and get him. Well, after the third or fourth time, you shouldn't have to be there should be a fine for you chasing after my dog 4 times in like a month or a week, or whether he has his tag on or not.
Yeah.
Like,
So currently under the bylaw, we do have the set fine for dog at large. What I normally do is the first time or within a year or so, if I catch a dog, I will take it back to the owner and educate them on the bylaw so that then they're aware of the bylaw and the fine. I believe in the back of the bylaw section.
okay.
It tells you what the fines are. So the dog running at large is $105 plus court costs that I think takes up to approximately $130. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me.
Okay.
So first time is typically a warning. Second time you get the fine. And then any time after that, you get the $105 fine. That if that is something council would like to look into, or Cindy to look into, is whether or not we can do stages of fines, increase it after the 4th or 5th time to a higher value. I'm not sure of the answer to that. I would have to look into it.
Anything
Okay,
further,
thank you,
Councilor
Jacob.
Shippen? Okay. I agree with the 72-hour number. I also think that the $105 fine for running at large or nuisance dog, after the 3rd time, I think the fine should increase, so that it's not, because obviously the first time or the second time, it didn't mean anything, so maybe an increase in the fine would. I have a concern, though, about all dogs being kept inside and on a chain or fenced. There are some dogs, I'm sure there's more than one, but there's a dog that people purchase to live with their sheep, and the dog pretty much thinks he's a sheep. He's out there all the time with them in the pasture, and he's protecting the sheep from wolves, okay, or whatever comes out. So I don't think it would be fair of us to impose those rules on that type of dog. There's probably other dogs, and I don't know a lot about dogs, but I do know about that one kind. And there might be others as well that look after other types of livestock, like, for instance, horses, or I think they even use donkeys to scare some things away. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm getting off subject. And I don't agree with us limiting the number of dogs that a family can have, just because we're in the country. Sometimes it's a pain to hear dogs, but I don't think that we should limit that. But we do have a pound, not a pound, what was the word you used, Jacob?
The kennel?
Kennel type thing that we could maybe, like, over, I don't know, 10 dogs or something, they'd have to have a kennel license or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, hunting dogs, okay, like your deer dogs, you buy a license for them in the fall to chase deer. I know they're not supposed to go on private property and all that sort of stuff, but sometimes they come out of the bush and they're on a road, and they're not going to have a tag, because if you have a collar on a hunting dog, it can get snagged in the bush, and the dog can be trapped in there and die. So there's not going to be any tag on that animal. However, the person in charge of the dog has to have a license with them at all times. So those are just a few things that I'd want to, be recognized or, if possible, to get in here or to adopt or to lessen a penalty. That's all I have. I'm not sure how we go forward with this bylaw, with all these ideas and recommendations.
So if I can sort of try and summarize, the general consensus is the suggestion number one about wording with the dog to be tied or in a fenced area or obedient to a person's command. Council doesn't really like the idea of that being added in. So then there wouldn't be any change to the bylaw. The set fine for dog without tag affixed. That's something that me and Cindy can look into and to see the proper steps about how to do that, because it is something we would have to register with the courts. As well, the increasing fines for third or fourth time that a dog is caught from the same or is at large from the same person. So I don't think those will really affect the bylaw. So I don't think there's any changes needed to the bylaw. I think it would probably be more just doing the short form wording and then the proper processes of having that short form wording adopted by the courts.
Okay. So even in order to add the progression in fines, that wouldn't be a change to the bylaw?
I'm not sure if I'm not sure how the short form wording will affect it. It's on the very last page. It's something I haven't done before.
Okay.
So it's something I'm going to have to do a bit of research into as to how we go about this process.
Okay.
And then in the new year, hopefully in early January, I'll have a better idea of how to do this. And then I'll bring a report back to council with what the steps would be to go ahead with that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Councillor Cross, any further questions for Jacob?
Not really a question. My main concern is the repeat offenders that aren't getting their dogs licensed. To me, that's the huge one, because dogs will run at any time. If they catch a scent of something, it's in their nature. If a dog is known that it's a runner, then it's the responsibility of the owner to make sure that that dog is safe. Not only from, possibly getting hit by a car or going onto somebody else's property and killing their chickens. If it's a known runner, then they need to take the appropriate measures. But it's definitely the repeat offenders not having the license on them. Those are the two main things I really want to see, kind of tightened up. I just don't want to see, I like the changing of the wording, but I just see that becoming a he said, she said situation. How do you prove that the person wasn't in the yard with the dog? You're not going to take pictures. You're not going to, he could say, I just went in to go get the leash. It can become an argument. I think it's the last two that are really important. And if they continue to be a repeat offender, yeah, the money should, go up. Always give them a grace period, and, they make mistakes, dogs make mistakes. But if it's a continual thing, then that's what's costing the municipality.
Councillor Shipham?
No, I agree that the repeat offenders should be charged as the fourth or the fifth time. We can also maybe word for the cattle dogs or whatever, because they're a working dog. That's a totally different breed of animal, and they have a strict, well, they're trained to stay with what they're guarding. They're not necessarily going to be out on the road, unless that's where the sheep went. But yeah, because there's working dogs, there's pets, and then there's the at-large or the hunting dogs. So, but if you have the licenses for them in your pocket, because they shouldn't be hunting by themselves, then they should be fine.
Right. Okay, thank you. Sandy brought it up a little bit, and it was about, say, a dog getting into somebody's chickens or ducks or geese or calves or sheep or whatever, doing damage. Then there should be something here about that as well. I don't know what it would be. You'd have to prove it that it was that dog, and a picture would help. But I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, where it comes to dogs attacking another animal, the Dog Owners Liability Act covers a lot of that. That's something that the OPP can enforce, and I usually refer them to it. It also involves dogs biting people, dog attack any other animal. And I usually request the police to do that because of the way the nature of those cases could go. They have better resources than myself to deal with them.
Yes. Okay, thank you. All right. Move on to the next item on the agenda. I think that is item G. It's a report from the landfill manager, and the report is JG 2021-19, landfill agreement renewal. So, Mr. Landfill manager, can you talk to us about this?
So this report, at the end of this year, the Algonquin Park access, or the kiosk contract, comes up for our landfill. And then in the end of March, the Samuel de Champlain's Park comes up for renewal, and the Ecology Center, Canadian Ecology Center, at the same time. In reviewing all three of these contracts, there were some differences between all three of them. One person would pay an annual fee and no tipping fees. One person or one group would pay tipping fees and no annual fee. And then another would pay an annual fee plus tipping fees. And then all of the contracts had different renewal times. Two of them, I believe, were every 5 years. One of them was done every year. So in the template one, I've tried to make a general across the board template for the three of these, or if we do have someone else approach us to enter into an agreement to use our landfill as well, so that it's already set up. Some of the things that I tried to fix was to get everybody paying the same, try and make one set of rules for everybody to follow. So in the three reports, I've done an annual fee, plus they pay tipping fees. And the price that I had set was $2,600, which was just under what our previous one for the Ecology Center was proposed last year, but we agreed to waive it to help them out because they're going through some difficult times. And then I'm trying to get the renewal dates all synced up to be in the second year of the term of council, so that it's not something that a council is doing their first year in, or with the 5-year ones, there could be a whole term of council that doesn't get to review this and see if there's any changes that they feel needs to be made. So I'm trying to give each council a crack at this so that they have their chance to put their input into it. Is there anything from council on it? Do they like the fee that's been set? Do you think it should go higher, should go lower? Any recommendations on how to do this? And we can adjust the template and go forward with it.
Councillor Shippen, any comments?
The only question that I had was, do all three of these entities, I guess, have the same amount or weight or whatever of garbage, like for them to all be charged the same amount?
So they all ship in different amounts. That's why I had recommended they all pay a tipping fee.
Okay.
And then the annual fee, I sort of view it kind of like our ratepayers pay tax, and part of that tax goes towards the landfill. So the annual fee is sort of like their tax or their contribution to the end of life of the landfill or the improvements to the landfill that need to be made to maintain it.
Okay. That was it for me. The template looks good.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cross?
No, I like the idea of it all being consistent and fair. I'd hate to think that, you know, one person would be saying, why are you getting charged less than me? And I think the best way for, you know, it to be, if one person is using it less, it's basically going to be charged by the tipping fee. So if you're not using it, you're not using it. And if you are, then you pay by how often you come. So I like that. The one thing in here I wasn't sure was we do have the bylaw of clear bags, and we were talking about possibly enforcing that. Do these entities know that that's something that we are going to be trying to promote? Because it would help with the separation of recyclables from garbage, knowing what they are bringing in. I think I don't know whether or not the amount is correct or not. I mean, I would expect that recommendation come from you, Jacob. I wouldn't know what would be the proper amount to charge. Otherwise, it looked good. Thank you.
Yeah, so to answer some of those questions, with there being changes to it, what I want to do is send out a letter to each of the groups when council has decided they like the way the template is, explain to them the changes, why we've done the changes. I also wanted to send them a copy of our bylaw, but also highlight the fee schedule, because some of the fees have changed. 2 years ago, we had adopted a new fee schedule just so that they're all aware of what they are. So the ones that weren't paying tipping fees know what they are. And that was one of the things that I wanted to do, was try and drive home the point that this seemed to be something council was interested in, was trying to get everybody to use clear garbage bags. That if they can use clear garbage bags, for them, they'll be able to see that they have more recyclables in their garbage, so they can divert it and in turn reduce their tipping fee. And for us, it also helps us to educate them on the recycling program and how they can do more to divert and reduce their costs, and we can extend the life of our landfill.
No, I like that a lot. The informational letter to them to explain it all. I really like that.
Okay. I like the idea of the template, everybody being the same. Just recently, maybe within the last 2 weeks, North Bay raised double their prices on their bags, eh? So everybody's thinking about their landfill sites and trying to make them last, because they're very expensive to expand or create a new one. So I think this is all a good idea, Jacob. Thank you very much.
Okay, so the council's happy with this template. I'm going to go ahead and present it to these other companies with that information letter and also get their comments back on it.
Yeah.
And if there's any concerns that come out of it, then I'll present those to council and we can see if there's any adjustments that need to be made it from there before we create the bylaws for the agreements.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob.
So the next item on the agenda is item H, and it's 2021 CT61 update on a road use agreement for Kevin and Cindy Grant. Do you have anything you want to say on this, Cindy?
Okay, so, at the October 26th meeting, which is the last time we were, or this road use agreement was brought to the council meeting, there were some concerns over, two people on the same road being responsible for the same section of road. There was also some questions about the use of the word driveway from a member of the public. So I took all of those questions and brought them back to the solicitor and asked his opinion on how we should move forward with this. His initial thought, as I mentioned at the last council meeting, was that it probably would not be a good idea for two property owners to be responsible for the same piece of road if it could be avoided. Unfortunately, when I explained and had a further conversation with him, explained the situation and how, where the two people on the road were situated, et cetera, he now doesn't believe it is avoidable. Unfortunately, as mentioned in my report, for example, if the one property owner who's responsible for the first portion of the road goes away on an extended vacation or, is away for whatever reason, is unable to plow the road, that would block the second person further down the road from access to their property. So he said, unfortunately, in this particular situation, they both have to be responsible for it. They should hopefully work together, and each one takes a portion of the road that's indicated in the maps associated with the road use agreements. But unfortunately, because of the circumstances, it can't be avoided. I also questioned him on the use of the driveway, the use of the word driveway in the agreement, and the solicitor said that the use of the word driveway in this particular instance and the way that we're using this is appropriate. The only other thing that I would like, so that's in terms of the report that's in front of you, that sort of answers the main questions that were asked from either council or members of the public. The second thing, I just wanted to draw attention to the fact that the solicitor thought it would be a good idea for us to add a paragraph, an additional clarifying paragraph in section 3, condition of premises. So the second paragraph that's listed there, that is an addition made since the last version that was presented to council. It's just further clarifying what the responsibilities are of the property owner.
Okay, so thank you for all that. A lot of work there. so this has been read one time, right? Then there's been a modification to it. And so, is the plan to read it one more time or twice tonight?
That's up to council. You can read it one more time now and then one more time at the December 14th, or you can do both
I'd
readings.
like to read it just one time tonight, so that, it gives, Mr. and Mrs. Grant, an opportunity to comment or withdraw or whatever. So I'll need, and that's up to, everyone here to determine if we want to do that. How do you feel about that, Councillor Cross?
I know that we try to do our best with only doing one reading in a night, or not doing all three. We have done one reading on this, have we not?
Yes, we have, October 26th.
Okay, so I'm fine with doing both. I'm a little bit concerned about the fact that the weather is going to be changing. I know it's been beautiful, but there's a possibility that snow may be coming very shortly, and I would not like to see either resident without the ability. Well, I know that the Brulos already have one, but I would want to see the Grants without the ability to plow their road if we did end up having a big snowfall. So I'm fine with both readings, but what's the majority rules, I guess.
Okay, your opinion, Councillor Shipman?
I was thinking the same thing. If we have a huge snowfall before the 14th of December, then how are the Grants going to be able to access their property if they don't have this road agreement?
Okay, I'll go along with the group. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for the second reading. So Councillor Cross, can you move the second reading, please?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman, can you second it, please?
Yes.
We have the second reading, moved by Councillor Cross, seconded by Councillor Shipman, being a bylaw to authorize a road use agreement between Kevin and Cindy Grant and the Corporation Municipality of Calvin, to be read a second time and referred to the Committee of the Whole Council. So any further discussion on this, Councillor Cross?
No.
Councillor Shipman?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to call a vote on the second reading. Do you vote to proceed with the second reading, Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
And I do as well. So the second reading is carried. Then I'll need a mover and a seconder for the third reading. So Councillor Shipman, can you move the third reading, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so third reading, moved by Councillor Shipman, seconded by Councillor Cross, being a bylaw to authorize the road use agreement between Kevin and Cindy Grant and the Corporation Municipality of Calvin, as reported by the Committee of a Whole, to be read a third time, passing number 2021-032, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed to seal the corporation, and be engrossed into the bylaw book. Any further discussion, Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote on the third reading. Do you vote to accept the third reading, Councillor Cross?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
I do as well, so the third reading is carried. Thank you very much. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is J. And that's a declaration of the furnace as a surplus. So we have a resolution in front of us that I'll need a mover and a seconder for. So Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Shipman, can you second it?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we have a resolution moved by Councillor Shipman, second by Councillor Cross. Whereas the municipality of Calvin recently replaced an old furnace in the public works garage, as the venting needed to be changed at the same time as the siding and roof were being replaced, and the old furnace no longer met code. And whereas the Olson Inc. Duomatic Model KAS 200 serial number 29138KA FP furnace has been taken out of service to the municipality of Calvin. Now be it therefore resolved that the council hereby declares the Olson Inc. Duomatic Model KAS 200 to be surplus to the further needs of the municipality, and hereby authorizes the road superintendent and the clerk treasurer to then offer this furnace or any of its parts for sale at the best offer. Any discussion on this, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipley?
No discussion.
Okay, I'm going to call for a vote on the declaration of this furnace to be excess. So you vote yes or no, Councillor Cross?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipley?
Yes.
Okay, I vote yes as well. So we determined that this is surplus and can be sold at the best offer. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is K. And it's a report from the clerk treasurer, 2021 CT 62. It's a report to council regarding agreement with townships of Chisholm and Bonfield and the municipality of East Ferris for a bylaw enforcement. Do you want to speak on it, Cindy?
Sure. So in the past, there have been previous discussions with council. We had originally brought forth a draft bylaw between us and Papineau Cameron for sharing a bylaw enforcement officer. I have regular meetings with the regional area CAO clerk treasurers, and it was found that both including Papineau Cameron, but also East Ferris and Chisholm also required a bylaw enforcement officer. So Chisholm actually was in quite dire need of one. They didn't have one, period. Their previous bylaw enforcement officer moved away, so they had to hire one. But because we're all interested in it, we thought it would be a good idea to share a bylaw enforcement officer, because we're all fairly small municipalities, and sharing the costs of the training and the certifications that are required, those types of things would be a good thing. Chisholm has hired this person, and so they're an employee of Chisholm, so it would work very similar to our CBO, right, Chief Building Official. So in that case, Papineau Cameron is the employee for our Chief Building Official, and we get charged for the services that our CBO provides to us. This would work in a similar manner. So, but in this case, we would only be charged for the time that this bylaw enforcement officer is used. So it could be more expensive. Obviously, there is a difference because they're not an employee of ours. There has to be an administrative cost and the wage for the person and things like that incorporated in the fee that Chisholm charges us. So it is a little bit more expensive on an hourly rate. But that being said, it could be less expensive in the long run because then that way we're only paying for the services that we require. This could be used in a multitude of ways. This person could be the primary bylaw enforcement officer, and backup could be our current bylaw enforcement officer, or vice versa. Staff's recommendation is this person would be the primary and our current bylaw enforcement officer would be the backup, just because this person would have the training and the certifications and things like that. that's what we recommend, but again, it can be decided on an as-needed basis sort of thing. Initially, what this agreement is just for us to enter into an agreement with the 3 other municipalities to share this particular service amongst the 4 of us.
Okay.
Council have any questions in regards to that?
Councillor Shipley?
I just have a question. Maybe I'm just not following this correctly, but in the instance of a dog at large, we're going to be calling the guy from Chisholm to enforce the bylaw?
Correct.
Isn't he a little far away? Like by the
Well,
time.
actually, the person in Chisholm, the person is employed by Chisholm, but he actually lives in East Ferris. So, yes, he would be away, but that being said, our current bylaw enforcement officer isn't necessarily in Calvin at the same time when a lot of the calls come in either.
Okay.
Sometimes he is, and that's why I'm saying we could use it on whenever it suits us kind of basis. If it's more convenient for us to use our current bylaw enforcement officer, then we could choose to use him. If it's more convenient to use this other person, we could use that other person. I think it'll depend on the situation. For the first little while, we'll just have to judge according to the situation.
Okay.
Who would determine that, situation? Who would be the called, and bylaw officer? How do we
Well, the
determine-
call would come into the office, and at the
Yeah.
present time, it would be a combination of the current bylaw officer and myself deciding
Okay,
whether we would call this other person or whether current bylaw enforcement officer would take care of it.
Councillor Cross?
Just so that I'm aware, we would only pay when we are using him. It's not a flat rate monthly. And is it like there's no contract, like we're not set? Yeah, explain that a little bit more, one more time. I'm a little bit shaky on the whole
An hourly
setup
rate
of
plus
this.
mileage.
There would be an
Hourly
hourly
rate.
rate plus mileage, yes,
Okay.
sorry, Mayor Pennell, when we call the bylaw enforcement officer.
Okay,
So we would only pay for the time that we use him. However, that
Okay,
being
it's just 'cause
said, also part of the document that we would share 4 ways any training that this particular individual would require. Whereas right at the moment, our current bylaw officer, because he wears so many different hats, does not have the time to do the appropriate training.
okay. Okay, it's just, I was looking at this number here and I was thinking, okay, this is not what we're gonna be paying above and additional to an hourly wage. My mistake.
Which, where are you looking at?
The approximately $1,427, plus mileage and membership costs. I thought that was gonna be like a flat rate or something, and I was like, no. So it would be beneficial because our current bylaw officer cannot do most of the training. So we would actually have somebody who would be more, not saying qualified, but up to date on the things that they need to know. Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Just for clarification, the numbers that have been provided in the report are estimates to give council an approximate idea. So using the average amount of hours that the current bylaw officer works, and it's just an average because every year is different. Those I use the same number of hours for the different rates and things like that to give council an idea of what the difference between the two would be.
Anything further, Councillor Shipham?
What if anything happens on a weekend? Like, who takes the call if something happens on the weekend?
Currently, the person would, if somebody had a complaint, they would call our after-hours emergency line, and then there's a list that the emergency line people call. So the first person they would call right now would be our current bylaw officer. If they couldn't get a hold of that person, then there are 2 other people
Okay.
behind them.
So it is
And
still,
my recommendation would be that we would change that to this person from who's
Chisholm.
employed by Chisholm to be the primary contact, and then the other people could become the backup.
Okay. And those calls just get routed to the answering service when this office is closed.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I'm good.
Anything further, Councillor Cross?
Well, hopefully with the update of the penalties and getting people with their licenses, maybe this would be not used as much. Keeping our fingers crossed, but nothing else.
Thank you. Does Cindy or Jacob have anything you want to add?
I don't. Is
No?
there anything you'd like to add, Jacob?
No, I don't have anything to add. I believe you've covered everything in this.
All right. Next item on the agenda is item L, and it's bylaw 2021-034. All right. And it's agreement between the Township of Chisholm and Bonfield and municipality of East Ferris and Calvin for bylaw enforcement. So I'll need a mover and a seconder to open this first reading. So Councillor Shipham, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Cross, can you second it, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So the first reading, have it moved by Councillor Shipham and seconded by Councillor Cross. Being a bylaw to enter an agreement with the Township of Chisholm, Townships of Bonfield and Papineau, Cameron, and municipalities of Calvin and East Ferris for the enforcement of municipal bylaws. Any further discussion, Councillor Cross?
No.
Councillor Shipham?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to call the first reading to a vote. Councillor Shipham, do you vote yes or no to accept this first reading of the bylaw?
Yes.
And Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, I vote yes as well. So first reading is carried. So we'll read the second reading tonight as well. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for it. Councillor Cross, can you move the second reading, please?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham, can you second it?
Yes.
Okay, so I have the second reading moved by Councillor Cross and seconded by Councillor Shipham. Any discussion on the second reading, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham?
No discussion.
Okay, I'm going to call for a vote on the second reading as well. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So the second reading is carried as well. So we can bring a third reading back to council at the next meeting, probably. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is M, and that's expertise for municipalities. It's outstanding complaints to the Integrity Commissioner for former council members. I'm not sure who's going to do this presentation, if it's Ms. Albers or Mr. Sparling. Or nobody.
Sorry. I really don't know about this. Oh, there's Sean. Maybe Mr. Sparling will know the answer to this.
Actually, I wasn't aware this was on the agenda tonight, Your Worship. What I can do is I can speak with Peggy, and we can probably send some correspondence back to say what the exact status is. But unfortunately, sir, I wasn't aware this was on the agenda tonight.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll move on to next item on the agenda, which was item N, Municipality of Calvin Education. There was some podcasts if anyone was interested in listening to them. After that, the next item on the agenda is information letters. So information letters, is there anything in there that anybody is interested in responding to, or? Okay, so Councillor Cross?
No, there wasn't anything for me.
Okay, Councillor Shipham?
No.
There wasn't from myself either. Okay. Thank you. So the next item after that on the agenda is item number 8, information letters. There are none available. Item 9, there's all the new business, of which we have none. Item 10 is a council report. We don't do that any longer. Next item after that is item number 11, and it's for a closed portion. It's read that this portion of the meeting now be closed on a municipal. I'll need a mover in a second for this. So let's do that first. Councillor Shipman, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Cross, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we have this resolution moved by Councillor Shipman, seconded by Councillor Cross, that this portion of the meeting now be closed under the Municipal Act 2001 as per Section 239(2)(e), litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local boards in Section 239K, apposition, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or behalf of the municipality, local board, Castle and Redevelopment Project as per Section 239 3.1, and educational training session for council given by expertise for municipalities. So any discussion on this, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham?
No discussion.
Great, thank you. I'm going to call this to a vote, please. You're in favor of moving into a closed meeting for these reasons, Councillor Cross?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
And I am as well. So this resolution is carried.